What's up, folks? Good Sunday afternoon. This is your boy Al, aka Dusty Brick Brown, and thank you for whomever is in the chat. This is not hopefully going to be long. Basically, I back in the day, and it's been such a long time. I used to do a show called, a little op-ed called Off the Rack, where I talked about certain things that was going on in comic books and stuff. And earlier today, shout out to Matt Odom. I actually talked to him earlier. He kind of brought it up and mentioned it. And I hadn't done one in a long time, maybe like 3 or 4 years. So he was like, man, won't you do an Off the Rack? So, okay, I will do one. And here I am. So at first I was going to record it, but I opted to just do a live stream because it's pretty much the same thing. So if anyone joins, fine. If not, then I'll just go ahead and do my thing. I'm actually trying to get a little music going before I get started. There we go. But I hope everybody's well that watches this, whether live or after the fact. You might see a little difference in me. I don't have all that John the Baptist hair on my face. I started chemotherapy this past week. This past week was my first week into chemotherapy, and I opted to try a new look. So I shaved off everything. I started to shave off everything, and I got down to here, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I still got too much fat neck meat on my face for me to actually go full, like I'm just butt naked in the face. So I decided to basically just curtail that, lose a little bit more weight, because I'm still losing weight, thank God. I'm gonna shave it off, so y'all might see me just straight up baby face one day. It did take a few years off. I don't look as old as I did. You know, I kind of look like a vagabond with all that hair. But basically, I thank everybody for showing up. What's going on, Brian? I appreciate it. Thank you for joining, man. Hopefully, I won't be here long. But some probably have already, if you follow me on Instagram. And just to give you a little recap, Off the Rack is basically an op-ed. The opinions that I have, they don't necessarily reflect the entirety of the Comic Hall group. So with that being said, I had a little post that I posted earlier today. As most will actually know, when you actually watch this, whether it's live stream or after the fact, San Diego Comic-Con was this weekend. And of course, they announced a lot of stuff in terms of comic book goodness. The Boys is getting a prequel with Soldier Boy. They announced some information for the Transformers movie, which I'm kind of like on. But one of the biggest things that they actually announced, they actually released a trailer for Thunderbolts, but I haven't seen that on YouTube yet. But one of the biggest things that they actually announced last night was they had found the casting for Doctor Doom. For everyone that does not know, Marvel announced, or Disney Studios, Marvel Studios announced a couple of months ago, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, might have been longer, but they announced that they were working on a Fantastic Four movie. So they had already cast the Fantastic Four, and they were looking to cast Doom. Well, if you're familiar with the landscape of how everything has been set up thus far, Marvel was initially going to go with Kang. Jonathan Majors, which I think played the hell out of Kang when he was active with Marvel. I honestly think that would have been great. But of course, he got into some trouble with the law. And even though I feel personally that the trouble, even though what he did was jacked up to a certain degree, once you actually peel the layers of what he did or hit what he alleged to do, it was jacked up. But I personally felt like it wasn't a reason to just get rid of him, considering that so many have done a lot worse than what he did. But that's a whole nother story. But anyway, Marvel decided to ditch the whole Kang thing instead of recasting, and they decided to go a different route. Well, last night, which was I look at the calendar, it was the 28th. Is it 28th? Man, I'm so discombobulated. Yeah, well, actually, it was the 27th because today is 28th. So basically, on the 27th of July, they announced that Robert Downey Jr. was going to be Dr. Doom. And of course, that lit the internet on fire. And essentially, what's happened in this particular scenario is that there is a lot of people that are currently at odds because Robert Downey Jr. is playing the role of Victor Von Doom, aka Dr. Doom, in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. Now, I'm going to address a few things in this off the rack because, again, this is an op-ed, so I'm just giving my opinion. You may agree with my opinion, you may not. If you do, fine. If not, we can agree to disagree. We all have opposing opinions. Now, I do believe that some people's opinions are just straight up whack. We all feel that way sometimes. And I think in this current climate, when it comes down to superhero movies in general, especially when you're talking about the MCU and the DCEU, there is a bit of animosity towards superhero movies when it comes down to those big two. Now, people don't pretty much care about the Invincible. People don't care about, and I see your response, Brian. I'm gonna bring it up on the screen. People don't tend to care about The Boys because The Boys is not a big IP. So there's a lot of things that have happened in that show that actually differentiated, or it was, I can't think of the word, but y'all know what I'm talking about. They changed it from the comic book. People don't seem to care about that, except folks that just like to complain. I'm gonna get to that in a second. Well, of course, because, hey man, Brian, I guess, I don't know. It would be a doggone shame if he did play, because they're going back on previous history in terms of what they've done. They're retreading stuff. Okay, so basically, cat was out of the bag. Robert Downey Jr. was announced as the face of Dr. Doom. Well, at first, I'm not gonna lie, because I'm an X-Men guy. I collect X-Men, some Shazam. Shout out to Brian. The real Captain Marvel. Shout out to Larry Crocker. You know who the real Captain Marvel is. It ain't Carol Danvers. But anyway, but yeah, I'm strictly an X-Men fan. So if it's something outside of X-Men, I might have some familiarity with it, but I won't know specifically, the details. Larry is a Dr. Doom fan out of the Comic Hall crew. Matt is too. Larry actually reads a lot of, the Iron Man, Fantastic Four stuff. So he is more grounded in that than I am. So when the news first was released, I was kind of confused. So then, as I perused great old social media, my memory was jarred to the infamous Iron Man comic book from back in 2000. I think it was 2008. No, it wasn't that far back. It was 2016. I looked it up before I actually started the live stream. So the infamous Iron Man book was actually written by Brian Michael Bendis. And in that book, as far as the synopsis goes, Iron Man is dead. I don't know how he died, but Tony Stark is dead. And Dr. Doom, I guess, in a bit of wanting to redeem himself as a person, opts to take over the mantle of Iron Man and do good under the Iron Man mantle. Now, again, I have not read the book, but I was jarred. My memory was jarred, and I do remember covers and stuff. And I remember Larry talking about it back then. And from what I understand, he told me it was a pretty decent read. So, going back to the announcement, a lot of people were upset simply because, Robert Downey Jr., even though he's proven himself to be a great actor, and in all honesty, to me, he is the catalyst of why the MCU is where it is right now, whether it be for ill or for good. Because they took a chance on Iron Man. Iron Man, for all those who read comics would know, Iron Man was not considered an A-class or A-tier character in the Marvel landscape, but he made that character out of an A-tier character. I mean, he made him out of an A-tier character. So he was responsible, not him by himself, but he was responsible greatly for where the MCU success came from. So, I read stories and I read articles and posts on various platforms about why it couldn't be, Henry Cavill, or how it could be Cillian Murphy, and, other actors, Matt Nicholson, I think that's how you pronounce his name. And I get it. I understand where you can come as a fan and express your opinion. What I don't like, and what I have not liked about, the landscape of social media, especially in terms of comic book movies and stuff, is that so many people, they go off on the deep end. It's okay to express your opinion about whatever you feel you don't like. For most that watch the Comic Hall crew, they know that I can't stand most of those X-Men movies that came out in the 2000s. But you know what I did personally? I didn't sit and I complained. The only time I actually said anything for the most part about those movies is if somebody asked me. I wasn't on social media dragging them. Somebody asked me, I'm going to give you my honest opinion. But at the same time, I had the wherewithal to know that if I wasn't a champion of that particular product, I didn't go to the movies to see Days of Future Past. I actually watched it after the fact, and it was an okay movie. I didn't go watch Apocalypse. I thought Apocalypse was... I ain't gonna even start. But I didn't watch that movie. I've never watched that movie all the way through. I've never watched the Dark Phoenix movie all the way through because I didn't like the direction that they were going with the X-Men, being that I am a very ardent and fervor or zealous person when it comes down. I ain't gonna lie, when it comes down to the X-Men. So I just kept a lot of what I felt to myself. If I was asked, I would tell people if they asked. We can't, for some reason, we have as a community, in terms of social media, we can't get to that point to where we could just not like something. People got to drive it and drag it in the mud. There was this whole meme going on at one point about MCU is dead. There's a meme that shows certain movies and stuff. MCU is dead. I think it was Eternals. MCU is dead. Then they showed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And to the right, MCU is alive. And then they showed the Marvels. MCU is dead, which, by the way, I still hold on to my opinion that the Marvels was a good movie. It was just the whole lynch mob, pitchfork, torch carrying people that just follow anything for whatever reason and just dog the movie out. Now, I don't care for Brie Larson, but that movie overall was a pretty good movie. That's just my opinion. And I know I've seen a lot of people after the fact go back and watch it after they've actually had a chance to decompress from all the stuff that people have said about the movie and say, hey, this movie wasn't as bad as it is. Let's face it, comic book movies are not a magnum opus. We're not going to see a comic book movie win an Oscar for Best Actor award or Best Actress or Supporting Actor or Actress or whatever the case may be. When we see these movies for the entertainment factor and for the suspension of disbelief for however long it takes for us to suspend our disbelief, whether it be 1 hour, 2 hours, or what have you. Chris, thanks for joining, man. I think Chris Evans will return to Steve Rogers, Captain, to tell or show the untold story of what happened when he returned and finished Sounds in Place. That's a possibility, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. What I believe, and this is just my opinion and a theory, a lot of people have failed to realize that when it came down to the Fantastic Four movie, like I said, they announced several months back that this movie was going to take place outside of the MCU continuity, or as Deadpool and Wolverine calls it, the sacred timeline. If you know, you know. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, then they are subject to take liberties, which Marvel has done ever since the beginning of the MCU timeline. They've taken certain storylines and they've taken liberties for those storylines, and they've changed some stuff. You cannot tell me if you've read Civil War, which was a great miniseries, by the way. You cannot tell me that Civil War deviated from the comic book, because it did. Civil War was Civil War by name. The premise was there. The plot was kind of there. But in terms of actually the meat and potatoes of the comic book version of Civil War, it was totally different. Of course, we know with Ultron, they changed Ultron totally different from his comic book counterpart. So you're looking at a medium where, of course, they can take something from, the comic books and make it into something else or deviate from the comic book. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. I say that to say this. When you look at the landscape of what's happening currently, ever since they announced or actually introduced Kang into the MCU, Disney, Marvel Studios have been going towards multiple universes, the multiverse. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The last Spider-Man movie, I can't remember the name of it, but that last Spider-Man movie had 3 Spider-Mans in it from different universes. If you watch Deadpool and Wolverine, and I'm not giving out any type of spoilers, there were people in that movie that weren't part of the MCU. And the point that I'm trying to make is that people are so quick to judge and like, Robert Downey Jr. shouldn't be Doctor Doom and Tony Stark wasn't Doctor Doom in the comic book. I've read that. But just because that may not have been the case, that doesn't mean that they can't deviate from that. The point also that I'm trying to make is that you have people that for some reason they see things and then they run with it. There is apparently there's something going on with that. The announcement that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doctor Doom in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. Thank you, Brian. No Way Home. There is an ulterior motive behind that. These people have been doing movies for the past almost 20 years. And you best believe there's something there's going to be a MacGuffin or a red herring when it comes down to Tony Stark or with Robert Downey Jr. being Dr. Doom. And also, to add to that, with them dealing with the multiverse, and that's the key thing I want people to understand, they're talking about the multiverse. This version of Dr. Doom is not going to be the mainline Dr. Doom. What could possibly happen, they could possibly show us a whole nother Dr. Doom in the regular MCU timeline, aka the sacred timeline, and they might introduce that individual somewhere down the road. Now, of course, they just revamped the Kang Dynasty to Doomsday, the Avengers Doomsday, and then the following movie after that in 2027, because it looks like they're coming out back to back, it's going to be Avengers Secret Wars. Now, if you are a comic book reader, and I have to say that because I saw a lot of comments from people that are not familiar with the comic book material. A lot of them didn't even know about the infamous Iron Man. And that's understandable if they're not comic book readers. But if you're familiar with the 2015, what's his name? Oh my God, he did Jonathan Hickman. If you're familiar with this 2015 run of Secret Wars, that particular series of the story arc was an amalgam. There was multiple universes that were about to be destroyed by this incursion. And if you take that, the incursion is another form of the TVA. If you watch the Deadpool movie, if you watch Loki, you would know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. So you're looking at a situation where certain things and certain aspects of the comic books have been blended into the MCU or about to be blended into the MCU. Damn, what's going on, man? Good to see you, bro. I don't believe he is because, like I said, Dan, I don't know when you joined. The Fantastic Four movie is in a whole nother universe. They announced this way back when they first announced that they were doing a Fantastic Four movie. They explicitly stated that the Fantastic Four movie was not in the MCU timeline. So if you look at it from that perspective, it makes sense because in the comic book, if Dr. Doom took on the mantle of Iron Man, all they got to do is tweak a couple of things and you're there. Now, I don't get it how all of a sudden Robert Downey Jr. is now vilified because he's playing the role of Victor Von Doom. Honestly, based on his acumen as far as his acting is concerned, I'm sure he could pull it off. Could there have been other actors to come in to play the role of Doctor Doom? I'm sure there are. There are a lot of great, outstanding actors out there. But at the end of the day, Disney, Marvel Studios, they got a plan. And I believe that the plan involves some type of swerve, something to actually get people to thinking and talking and stuff. And they're like, man, I didn't even expect that. Instead, you have people that are all out the wazoo just talking just crazy and stuff. It's like, bro, Kevin Feige is Kevin Feige for a reason. Yes, you have your you can complain, you can have your opinion all you want, but at the end of the day, he gets paid to do what he gets paid to do. We get paid to do what we get paid to do if all of us are working. Yes, we have an opinion, but sometimes opinions get to the point to where they get overbearing, and then all of a sudden, here comes the torches, here comes the pitchforks, here comes, Marvel is messing up again. They did great with Deadpool and Wolverine, now they're about to mess up. How do you even know? You don't know. All you know is what they told us. And I'm going to tell you this, I commend Marvel because I watched Deadpool and Wolverine on Thursday night with Larry and Matt. I commend Marvel because for the first time in a long time, there was a good bit of content in that movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, that didn't get leaked. So whatever they're doing, they need to do it. They need to continue to do it because I feel like that's another thing that messes these movies up. When people try to be the first to get the scoop on what's happening and stuff, and Iron Lad's gonna be in this movie, Mephisto's gonna be in this movie, we're gonna see the hand of the Juggernaut in the next Thor movie, all that kind of crap. So I applaud them for actually keeping things under wraps the way they did, and I hope they continue that trend moving forward. But at the end of the day, I feel like if you are indifferent to Robert Downey Jr., being that other alternate version of Dr. Doom, you have that right. But at least give them an opportunity to put what they are trying to do in front of everyone. You might like it. And if you don't, you do have an option, and that's not go buy a ticket to go see the movie. You have that option. No one is forcing you to go see a movie. If you feel so vehemently that Robert Downey Jr. shouldn't be that version of Dr. Doom, don't watch the movie. I didn't watch First Class, and to this day, I've never watched that movie all the way through. I've always watched bits and pieces of it. That's how I felt about that movie. But at the end of the day, we've got to be in a position where these people, their job is to make money. So they're not going to be put in a position moving forward, especially moving forward. I feel like they've learned a lot from the mistakes when they have hit their downtown. And now I think they're really trying to make amends for that. The interconnected MCU was a feat unlike any we've ever seen. A movie in a franchise that tried to replicate and fail. Marvel should not try to catch lightning in the ball again. I agree. I think they're going to do what they need to do to make things more congruent with the current situation of their movies and keep it moving. And again, I don't know what to tell people. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't. There's certain restaurants I don't care for. I don't go to those restaurants. I'm not going to sit on the internet and talk bad about restaurant number X if I don't like it. I'm just not going to go. Christopher Jackson, we still haven't seen what happened to the Nova Corps being destroyed by Thanos for Infinity Stone, which leads to the Nova movie in the future. From what I've read, Feige is he's gonna try to tie up a lot of loose ends from some of the previous movies and TV shows. Personally, I'm still wondering where is Vision. We hadn't seen Vision since the WandaVision and WandaVision. We haven't seen him since WandaVision. So I'm like, man, where is he? Like, is he somewhere in Kentucky, like on a farm, like farming cattle or something, or growing pineapples? Like, where is he? But I think they're going to try to tie up a lot of those loose ends and stuff. I honestly believe that they've actually, they want to correct the ship and, put out some good quality stuff. That's the reason why they're not banking on putting 2, 3, 4 movies out in a year. Deadpool and Wolverine's the only Marvel movie we got this year. And that's been the first time, from what I've read, since the Avengers. The first Avengers, and that was in 2012. you know. And for those that basically, want to just constantly, denigrate and dog out the MCU, I want to put something into perspective. And again, I'm going back to comic books because I'm a comic book reader. Anyone that actually watches this, whether you are in the live chat or whether you watch this after the fact, I want you to think about this. If you are a fan of a particular group or a particular title, and you've been a long-time reader of that title, you know that your favorite character or your favorite team or your favorite group has not always had the best stories. There's been great writers on all forms of books, and this goes across the board. DC, Marvel, Image, like I mentioned earlier on Instagram. This goes across the board. But you stick with that character unless it just gets to the point where I just can't take it no more. They're on a slump, you like, man, I'll just leave it alone for a while, come back to it later. But for most people, if they are a fan of Daredevil or Ghost Rider or Avengers or Fantastic Four, they realize that their book has not always had the top-notch quality writing that they yearn for. And for the MCU, some movies have not been as great as others. I'll be the first to admit that. I didn't care for Eternals. I just thought that movie was totally out of place in terms of the Marvel landscape. Thor: Love and Thunder, I reserve my opinion. I didn't like that movie at all. I watched it. Probably will never watch it again. But the fact still remains is that there's ebbs and flows in everything, especially comic books. Jonathan Hickman wrote X-Men for a few years, and he got the ball started on a new path for the X-Men that had never been explored before. And it was incredibly refreshing as opposed to the previous writer, which I can't even remember the guy's name. Uncanny X-Men Volume 5. But that's the X-Men were struggling. They were struggling to the point to where at one point they were trying to replace the Inhumans with the X-Men. Larry, you can say what you want to say. That's a hill I'm gonna die on. They tried to replace the X-Men with the Inhumans. But, if you're a fan, you're gonna stick with it, you're gonna persevere, you're gonna say, well, yeah, these stories aren't all that great, but hopefully they'll get back on track soon. And that's the attitude that if you are a true fan of the MCU, or for comic book movies for the most part, regardless of who it is, that you understand that everything is not going to be Endgame. Everything is not going to be the first Avengers movie. Every movie that gets released is not going to be Civil War, or my personal favorite, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Every movie is not going to be that way. I'm hoping the Falcon is. I mean, the new Captain America movie that comes out in February, because it gives me those vibes. But there's always ebbs and flows. Just let it ride. Again, if you don't like RDJ, personally, that's on you. If you don't like him being cast as Dr. Doom in that universe, that's on you. You have the ability to go watch it. If you don't, you don't. You're not hurting anybody else. You're not wasting any of your valuable, precious time. Because that's a commodity that all of us lose every day. But you don't have to indulge in it at all. So, at the end of the day, what I'm basically trying to say is this. Let things go the way they go. Let them happen. Again, if Robert Downey Jr. is not the right fit for the Dr. Doom, it'll be made aware as soon as trailers drop, as soon as the movie drops. I got the feeling it's going to be the opposite, because I don't feel that Robert Downey Jr. has agreed to take on this role, number one, if he felt like he couldn't, knock it out the park. Number two, if Disney or Marvel Studios doesn't have some kind of plan for all this to happen. And I honestly think now, looking back, that they purposely put it out there in the way that they did to create the attention that has been received for that announcement. I just get tired of just people complaining about stuff for no reason. And if you voice your opinion, that's fine. But you keep going on and on and on. What good is it going to do? It's already been set in stone now. A petition can't change it. And none of us are in a position to harass Disney or Marvel Studios to make any changes. So get it out, get it off your chest, let it go, and then let them do what they need to do in order to show you that what they did was the right decision. That's it. That's it. Social media is a sickness, like it says down at the bottom. I love social media for what it can actually provide, but the toxicity out there, sometimes it's just ridiculous. That's why I said in my title, the MCU can't win for losing. They're really trying to bring people back to the MCU. And I honestly think, like Christopher Jackson said earlier, we're going to see a lot of stuff. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Chris Evans back as Captain America. There's probably going to be a lot of people that's coming back. We'll probably see Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow again. We all know what happened to her character rather. So just let things go the way they go. If you're indifferent, if you don't like it, get off your chest, leave it alone. Don't be one of those people that just straight up troll. Like, the MCU sucks now because this, that, and the other. But at one point, you all happy and all that kind of stuff. Robert Downey Jr. couldn't do no wrong. Gee, man, what's going on, sir? Good to see you. I decided to do an impromptu off the rack. I haven't done one in a while. But yeah, at the end of the day, just let it go. Because no matter how much complaining you sit and you bellyache and you bellyache and you bellyache and you bellyache and you bellyache, every other day somebody posts something and then you're that troll that sits there and says, well, the MCU sucks. Touch grass, man. Go buy you a PlayStation 3. Go find your girlfriend. Go find the nearest Baskin Robbins and go get you like a double or triple decker home. Because there's other things in life instead of just harping. And again, I'm all for expressing your opinion because that's what I'm doing now. But it gets to a point to where it's just tiresome, man. Like if Disney and DC was to stop just cold turkey and say, look, we're getting out of this game. We're not doing any more. We're not doing any more cartoons. We're not doing any more movies. We're just doing comic books. You have people complaining about it. If DC decided, hey, look, we got a schedule. We've been hiding this from y'all. We're gonna put out 3-4 movies in a year. People will be complaining, well, what are those 3 or 4 movies? Why it's got to be Booster Gold? Why is Lobo the main villain in the new Superman movie? Why couldn't it have been Parasite? I know a little bit about DC movies. DC characters, rather. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you are a consumer. You consume whatever you choose to consume or what you don't choose to consume. And if you don't like it, don't watch it. That's all I got to say. Gee, man, thank you, man. I'm feeling pretty good, man. My chemo is on its way, and I didn't really have a whole bunch of adverse side effects. A couple, but not a lot. I mean, as far as I felt a little tingling in my fingertips when I actually touched something cold. As of late, I've been kind of nauseous when I wake up in the morning because my first round of chemo ended Thursday. And ever since then, I've had slight nausea, but I take some medicine and it pretty much subsides. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I had a slight bout, and this is TMI to some people. I had a slight bout of constipation a couple of days ago, but that's kind of come and gone. Stomach tends to be upset every now and then, but it kind of dissipates, especially after I've drunk or eaten. But yeah, I'm pretty good, man. I lost another 12 pounds, so I'm gonna be sexy come Heroes Con next year. So G-Man, you better be on board, man, to be around a sexy man. I know that didn't sound right. But yeah, I'm gonna be sexy for the ladies at Heroes Con. That's right. That's right, ladies. Anyway, that's all I got to say about it, folks. I mean, if you feel indifferent, feel free to put your comments in the comment section. I welcome it. I welcome open, conversation, open discourse. I'm not a subject matter expert on anything, but I just feel like I speak for a lot of people that see what's happening, what's going on. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm 52 years old. And I always say, I remember the Spider-Man movies from the 70s. I remember the Captain America movies from the 70s and the ill-fated TV show from the 70s where Captain America rode a Huffy motorbike and had a shield made out of Rubbermaid plastic that when he threw it, it took a minute for it to hit the actual target where you could have probably ran away before the shield hit you. I grew up in the era where the Incredible Hulk had on green bedroom slippers. I'm not complaining. From my perspective, I may not like something, and like I said, if I don't like it, I don't watch it. But I'm not complaining. I'm gonna leave it at that. Somebody will enjoy it. If you like it, I love it. If I don't like it, that's fine. But at the end of the day, just let things go the way they are going, and then keep it moving. Gen X are the best, man. I agree, because I am Gen X. Wakanda forever. But anyway, that's gonna do it for me. We should be back this weekend with the new Comic Hall Crew live stream next Saturday. Again, I just wanted to do this live because I had sat down to do it recorded. I'm like, I might as well do it live. It's gonna end up being a replay. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people won't agree with what I gotta say, and that's fine. But at least if we could agree to disagree in a respectful manner, that's all I ask. So if you don't agree, chime in the comments. If you agree, let me know. If you feel indifferent to it, let me know. But we'll probably talk about this some more than likely. Our next live stream, we'll probably give our thoughts on the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It is what Deadpool is actually. If he was a real life character, Deadpool is probably one of the most comic accurate characters to date. Yeah. But yeah, thank you all for joining, whoever joined. G-Man, thank you. Brian for joining, Bronze Age Brian, Dan P, Jake, thank you for joining. Christopher Jackson, thank you for joining as well. We appreciate you. We love each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all for supporting the channel. If you aren't a subscriber to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell for any future Comic Hall Crew endeavors. Matt and Rico, shout out to Black Key Comics, they'll probably be doing another video on the auctions, and y'all watch those. Those auction shows, or the shows that Matt and Rico does, has some very good information on auctions. If you're interested in getting some stuff like hard to find comics, artwork, even like movie posters, music posters, you name it. They actually review heritage auctions, and they give you the skinny on certain things. Check them out, and be on the lookout for some from them, as well as a future live stream from the Comic Hall Crew. But with that being said, I thank you so much for joining. I'm about to eat my supper, and then I'm about to eat some fruit. I went to the store and bought a whole bunch of fruit because my chemo, got to get it done. I got some weight loss goals I got to meet. So thank you all. Really appreciate it. And let's see. I don't think there's anything else. With that being said, tell a friend about us, and I will see you all later. Y'all take it easy.